Nostalgic America 1964 with a 16-year-old girl and boy. So she'd figured that I'd know more about it tomorrow. And that had turned into today. I looked at her family on the porch some more, noting that mother and father got along very well. Here was normalcy. The wonder times continued on, unabated, with Joanne, my sweet champion of adventure, love, and literature. In between the regular fun with friends, to whom she had even right away joyfully told everything about our first meeting, very much straight out. But for our secret refuge location, with flawless speech this endearing all to her, we often read to each other from books from her mother's great library and from our own writings during much of our own sweet time, while lying in the shade on a hill toward the back of the playground. We'd even fall asleep back there sometimes.
We were in a fortunate solar system near the edge of the Milky Way.
Near to the front of the shelter house of this grand Carroll playground and park adjoined to Lincoln School was what turned out to be a very large monolith, in the shape of a dome, the top of which rounded shape now carried a lot of dirt, plants, and flowers. But it was hollow inside, with the entrance concealed behind some bushes, yet little sister New had showed it to us. The cavernous inside smelled of earth and cold stone, which, of course, is what it was, and very solid, as if it had been there since the beginning of time and would continue to stand until the very end of it. We really couldn't fathom how it came to be, yet it was there, of all places. Here we would go to light some smokes during the day and have some privacy in the evenings, even during the cooler nights, adding a fire or a candle. And I still don't know how it had formed, but it was our home close to home. The cavern led to an underground otherworld forest lit by some kind of bioluminescence, or so we imagined. We strolled into a world of children's dreams.
There was a very large monolith in the shape of a dome, the top of which round-up shape now carried a lot of dirt, plants, and flowers, but it was hollow inside with the entrance concealed behind some bushes. There was an enchanted forest in it, the cavern now since I smelled of earth and cold stone, which of course is what it was, and very solid, as if it had been there since the beginning of time, and would continue to stand until the very end of it.
So it was that we developed an interest in finding more secret places in which we could hang out in peace and read and play or whatever. We knew they wouldn't be as easily discovered, nor so fortunately located as the ones found so far, such as this magical domed cavern that was right under our noses and our feet. Meanwhile, we read Longfellow, as that was the name of one of the other Oak Park elementary schools, especially a poem about a leaf falling and fluttering for which we tried various voices, as well as Whittier, another school's name, and Hemingway, who had even lived here as we explored Oak Park and its namesakes. How on earth can one live happily and harmlessly in the world as it is, with people as they are, whilst one nurses malice and sorrow in one's heart? We sat on her porch in the rain the next day. We were in a fortunate solar system near the edge of the Milky Way, out on a spiral arm on the third planet, wherein the ongoing curves of life had blessed us. For we lived in a civilized time, standing upon the shoulders of all those who had paved the way during millions and billions of years into the present. In the summer's warmth that was flooding into us two who were so happy to be alive, as lovers and poets seem to know all too well. We were lying on an outdoor couch on the open-fronted porch with the beautiful and heavy rain pouring down all around us. It's sending a few refreshing droplets spraying our way every so often. We smelled and inhaled the delicious moist air as its sensuousness enveloped us, enjoying the sounds of the drenching that was so nearby and the gurgling sounds of the water coming down through the house gutters. We drew a blanket over us as it got a bit cooler. Snug was the word for it. We were in the field that was beyond right and wrong doing. We made plans to search the world locally first. We toured the areas around the schools of Emerson, Irving, Hatch, and Bayes, and then returned to Longfellow and its park, at which we met another social group of hanger-outers, as some we knew from high school, who gave us the idea of following some rivers, of which Oak Park had none. We mulled it over in the meanwhile. Most of the parks were too open to contain any more hidden places, but for a few benches only made so semi-secret by the night and the overhanging trees, as one in Maple Park. I just now looked on Google Street Level View and found that those benches and their nooks were no more. One end of Maple Park had a large fenced-in garden of secluded wonders that we found by climbing the fence to sneak in. There were vines upon vines about and upon the old and shuttered caretaker's hut from the 1800s. And so it was here that we often lived, too, as like time travelers in a time capsule, being careful not to disturb anything. We stayed as late as we could, each time, noting more and more artifacts, for the guy had been quite a collector. This garden, too, and its hut is gone now, as confirmed by Google. Ridgeland Avenue was said to be named after a ridge that was once a shoreline, and so we dug a bit into the ground of Rem Park and found sand, and so it went. The entire village of Oak Park lies on the shore of ancient Lake Chicago, which covered most of the city of Chicago during the last ice age and is today called Lake Michigan. Ridgeland Avenue in eastern Oak Park marks the shoreline of the old lake, and was once an actual ridge. One of North America's 4 continental divides runs through Oak Park. This divide, a slight rise running north-south through the village, separates the St. Lawrence River watershed from the Mississippi River watershed, and is marked by a plaque on Lake Street at Forest Avenue. Then there was the famed and feared Peabody's tomb, but the night and its built-in fears can be conquered, so we found ourselves at the site late one evening. It was quite an expensive monument, there being at least 6 stone nymphs pouring water into a clear pool that reflected the moonlight. Life is indeed full of delicious sights and senses. We soon obtained a map of the county, looking into the more outlying and undeveloped areas, and then rented a boat to explore the Des Plaines River, finding beaches, shores, and coves that were not accessible by land. We would try for the best ones in the weeks to come via land as a challenge. Old Illinois was at hand, some of it as intact as when the Indians were around, and we ever rechristened those nooks with love. The Des Plaines River had taken us through a gigantic cemetery that served all the outlying areas and some of Chicago too, and then through a golf course and a large forest preserve. The cemetery was ever where the ducks were fed, where we lovers feasted on wine, verse, and bread amidst the flowered trees and quiet streams, the home for both the living and the dead. One day we took 12th Street, Roosevelt Road, which was once called the Lincoln Highway, all the way out to Galena, and then to the Mississippi River, and crossed it into Iowa. We were in Driftless, meaning the place where the glacial drift hadn't reached, and it was full of caves, gorges, and deeply carved rivers. Way back, in my freshman high school biology class, we had a revised textbook that was so new that it was paperback bound. It told us how natural selection explained the mysteries of evolution and of the variety of life, which continuum extended from animals to us. It seems that we were once a lucky shrew, at first nervous and darting all about, until the dinosaurs died off, and then we mammals attached to a favorable evolutionary line in which every single one of our forebears on both sides was attractive enough to locate a loving mate, as had we now each other, being born in a civilized time and now free to roam in a democratic country. Yes, asteroids, volcanic eruptions, or a virus had swept away most of the species millions of years ago. But later on, 2 monkey chromosomes had fused, leaving the other chimps behind, DNA la RNA, ever remembering all the survivors. Good fortune had smiled on Homo sapiens. Of what stars did we shine of their stead? Across what ink-black river did we have to swim? To what ends at length did we search for food? In what deep entangled forest were we bred? All this and more we talked about and relived during our travels. William Smith had noted a correlation in fossils and rocks to find the relative rock ages that were possible. At every change in rock strata, certain fossils vanished, while in others they carried on into subsequent levels. What a glorious history we stood upon. School began. Now she was a junior and I was a senior at Oak Park and River Forest High School. A tunnel ran under the land to the Fieldhouse gym.